after a brief sell-off earlier in the morning along with the rest of the crypto market. But catch this. The S&P 500, the Dow Jones, and the NASDAQ 100 on Thursday all hit new all-time highs. And the Russell 2000, which is something that's required to expand if you expect alts to go. There's never been an alt season without the Russell 2000 small cap stocks expanding outward. Well, the Russell 2000 on Thursday hit its highest level in all of 2025. And it's only about 1.6% away from its all-time high. So as far as I'm concerned, it's just a matter of time before that bad boy breaks on through. And you know what that means for alt season. It's coming, folks. So I'll explain to you exactly what happened here, what drove all this, and some of the latest from a number of XRP chart analysts. And I'll just let you know at the outside, if you're wondering, should you expect this market cycle, the price of XRP to go way higher? The answer is yes. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind, since you have Bitcoin at $115,570. But yeah, Thursday we had a bit of volatility, which frankly shouldn't be surprising. And why? Because of CPI. Here's a headline from CBS. CPI rose at a rate of 2.9% in August as U.S. inflation ticked higher. And initially the volatility, it was to the downside, resulting in headlines like this. This is from Barron's. Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum slip as crypto rally stalls. Fed rate cuts in focus after CPI report. Well, you should have waited like another 5 seconds because it didn't take long for things to change here. So the month-over-month increase in CPI is 0.4%. So it was higher than expected. 0.3% is what was expected, so 0.1% higher. That's for the month-over-month. But the year-over-year target, it actually was hit at 2.9%. So I guess you could argue it's a bit of a mixed bag, but frankly, none of this is remotely devastating. But the market had a knee-jerk reaction on Thursday morning and sold off on the news. And the news broke at 7:30 a.m. Central Time. So yeah, a little bit of a sell-off, only for markets to ultimately rally higher later in the day, including the stock market. So look, so why did they sell? Well, again, like I said, it was a knee-jerk reaction, but there was a concern that this news would make it so that the Fed is less likely to cut rates next week. But frankly, I think the poor employment data that we've been seeing recently is a far more important consideration right now for the Fed. And as a result, you can absolutely expect that the Fed will cut rates next week. And that's what the market wants to see. That there's a strong expectation that's going to create a further appetite for risk on assets. And here you can see, if you look at the CME website, I mean, look at this. They still locked in here 100% odds that there's going to be a rate cut next week of some kind. Whether it's 25 basis points or 50 basis points, it's still coming here, folks. And you know, on Wednesday, the day before this additional CPI data came out, there was this post from chart analyst Dom, and he's highlighting Total 2, which is the top 125 coins by market cap, excluding Bitcoin. So you're looking at altcoins there. And he's looking at the Russell 2000, ticker symbol RTY. And so check out what he said here. Total 2 and RTY are both attempting breakout of their 2021 highs for the third time. Altcoins have only ever seen expansion when the Russell 2000 was also in expansive mode, small caps and small caps. We've talked about this before. Right now, they are both on the brink. And so, folks, that's why I'm highlighting this. They really are on the brink, and what we saw on Thursday just makes it even more intense to these key levels. Russell 2000 got even closer to its all-time high, and as far as I'm concerned, it is just a matter of time, a short bit of time, I suspect, before that thing breaks out. And there are tons of reasons for that, including the fact global liquidity has increased and risk on assets follow, including Bitcoin. It's just a bit of a lag time, typically about 3 months. Directionally, yeah, I would absolutely expect that to continue. Otherwise, this time's actually different, and for the first time in the history of crypto, we've got something strange happening, and then we'd have to talk about that. But we're speaking in terms of probability, and that doesn't seem remotely probable. Here's a post from Dark Defender at 6:42 a.m. on Thursday. So this is a little bit less than an hour before the CPI data came out. And here he noted, XRP is breaking the initial weekly resistance. And it certainly was. In fact, even the days leading up to this, a lot of analysts had been pointing that out, and I shared tons of examples of analysts highlighting that on my channel. It's just so obvious and also important if you're an XRP holder. And then there's also this post from E. Greg Crypto. This is at 7:38 a.m., 8 minutes after the news broke. And he noted here, nasty candle as of now, but it was bought up quickly. And so if you want to see what it looks like, this is when the news broke. And then you can see it looks like it just, price of XRP just fell off a cliff instantly, but that was only 5 minutes. So yeah, it went down from $3.03 to $2.99 roughly, and then it went up slightly and then down even more to bottom out at $2.98. So that was the steepest fall. It was obviously the steepest fall of the day anyway. Obviously because of the CPI data, it correlates perfectly, it just makes sense. But then we've just been trending upwards since then, hitting a high of $3.07, and right before I hit record, it was $3.07 on my screen. So it's just interesting seeing all of this unfold. Here's a post at 8:50 a.m., an hour and 20 minutes after the CPI data. It's from Crypto Insight UK, and he said, XRP $3 really putting up a fight. Yeah, and it's even higher since then. You'll love to see it. So, I mean, if you're wondering why the price of XRP has jumped, the market was waiting for something here, got the data, and ultimately, after digesting it, decided, yeah, this isn't so bad. This is not going to change whether or not the Fed reduces the federal funds rate. It just won't. Here's a post from chart analyst Zoom. This is at 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, so 2 hours after that data came out. XRP is currently fighting the $3 resistance. Once broken through this, the next resistances lie in the $3.35 zone, and then the current all-time high zone. Here is a post from X-Force Global. This is 10 minutes after the data broke. And he said, XRP is still on track for $20 this cycle for both the primary and alternative idea. New floor has been established for good. And so, despite the volatility in the morning, which was to the downside, he's still like, yeah, nope, doesn't matter. $20 XRP this cycle, that's still what's happening. And so, on a higher time frame, it doesn't make sense to think that the short-term price action, even if to the downside, is somehow destructive as it pertains to that concept of a higher time frame move for double-digit price action for XRP. In this case, specifically $20. You'd have to have some serious cratering way below what we've seen here for these analysts to be like, okay, that invalidates my idea. This is just normal volatility, and what is most probable is that you're just going to continue to see things break to the upside, frankly. Here's a post from the Great Matsby. This is 7:42 p.m. So you could see that there's already, at that point, of course, this is over 12 hours after the data broke, and there's already been a recovery, so XRP is at $3.05. And the Great Matsby said, don't worry, XRP wants to play too, and he's targeting key fib levels here, including this top one, the 1.618, with XRP hitting $26.63. And so he has been a proponent for double-digit price action for XRP this market cycle, and if all these analysts that are calling for this end up being correct, I will not be surprised, not even a little bit. Here's a post from chart analyst Javon Marks. This is from Thursday morning, 9:39 a.m., so a couple hours after that news broke. XRP's current target remains over 55% away at the $4.80 level. And so he still obviously believes that's in the cards. Here's a post from Crypto Wizard. This is in the afternoon after we'd seen some more price action, and obviously at that point the market had already been heading to the upside. And he wrote, XRP's time nears. This is a special chart. And it's an XRP ETH chart, by the way. He says, XRP against ETH has declined in line with a head and shoulders pattern, but it seems to be over. XRP will soon outperform $3.65 and then $4.50. Wait and see. So still that same level of optimism. And as far as this playing out, shouldn't it all be surprising that in recent times, recent months, XRP had losing value. It had lost value against Ethereum. But do you remember what Ethereum's price was just like 5-6 months ago? Like, let's just say in April. It bottomed out close to $1,400, and then it ended up hitting a new all-time high ultimately. And so, obviously, it was way oversold, which means that it had a lot of room to play catch-up. XRP had already run at that point, so of course, for that time period, it only made logical sense that you would expect the value of XRP to fall against ETH. But as I stated, it'll only do that until one day it doesn't, because XRP still has way more catching up to do. Just because it's been consolidating for much of this year after hitting its January all-time high, doesn't mean it doesn't have any juice left, and we're just waiting for a proper alt season here. You can see signs of strength. I mean, XRP ultimately hit $3.65 in July, so we ain't done here, folks. Don't be surprised if these analysts who are calling for double-digit price action for XRP, just don't be surprised if they're right. Here's a post from chart analyst CW. This is 8:40 p.m. So you're looking at 11 hours and 10 minutes, 13 hours and 10 minutes after that news broke Thursday morning, CPI data. And he says, officially, the XRP rally has resumed. It's breaking away from the convergence and forming a new trend. So he believes this is going to continue. And here's the most bearish post that I could find about XRP. And frankly, it's not even bearish. Like, it's hard to find analysts out there who are going to put their neck on the line and actually say, no, things are terrible for XRP. First of all, because every analyst that's done that over the last year, they've ended up with egg on their face. And frankly, those are bad takes. They've been proven to be bad takes. And given that XRP moves in tandem with the rest of the market, if you're going to say there's something that's going to cause XRP to plummet to the downside, unless you believe that's going to happen for the broader crypto ecosystem, then I don't believe you. XRP fundamentals have never been stronger, so it's not like there's something that's uniquely going to happen to XRP that's going to cause it to fall. That makes no damn sense all up in this bitch. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, folks. And if there's a black swan event, fine. It falls apart, XRP goes with the fine. But if we don't get a black swan event, we're not done here. And so if the market goes up, XRP is just going to go with it. And the second rally, historically, for XRP is the one where XRP goes the most nuts and has the most price appreciation against the dollar, or your fiat currency of choice here. So you have one big burst, move sideways for half a year. In this case, it's been slightly longer than that. And then you ultimately do rocket for a second major leg that is more impressive than the first one in terms of United States dollars. And so this is chart analyst Ali Martinez. He said 2 scenarios for XRP, and here's the first one. He says break $3.05 and surge to $3.60. Well, I hope he's right, because at least now we're ahead of that. And he posted this, by the way, Thursday morning, an hour after that CPI data. And his second scenario is this: retrace to $2.80, break $2.90, and surge to $3.60. So he's still, either way, he's like, yeah, we're still getting back up to all-time high territory. So it's like, again, that's the most bearish post I've been able to find today out of all the chart analysts I followed that track XRP. And that's not even bad. Even if that happened, and I don't really see anybody else calling for that, so it's a minority opinion, but even if that happened, even he's still like, yeah, but then you just fly upwards anyway. So this is a time to be excited and not afraid. Yes, there's going to continue to be, just as there has been for over 16 years now, there will continue to be volatility, extreme volatility in crypto. But most of that extreme volatility, it's to the upside. The asset class keeps trending upward, getting bigger. So everybody just chill. You either have exposure to the asset class, and specifically XRP, when this thing goes, or you don't. The only way to make sure that you do have exposure, or do get that life-changing wealth from XRP if it moves to the upside, is to just hodl. Because the people who try and get in and out of positions and get cute with the market and time things, even if you have a few wins, man, you're going to end up wrecking yourself. Data consistently shows that those who just hold for the long term, they outperform in the stock market and crypto. They outperform those individuals who either consider themselves traders or try and get or do get in and out of positions thinking that they're doing something wise. The people that don't tinker with their positions are the ones, provably, that end up making much more money. So just something to consider. That does mean you have to endure the negative downside stuff, but humans can do that. I've done it. I've never sold a single XRP in my life, and I've been holding since November 17th of 2017. So that's a thing you could do. You could literally just say, no matter what, I'm holding this for better or worse.